Rounding, Method 3. For this method, we are going to look at the length of the Millennium Force roller coaster. So the first question we need to answer is, how long is the Millennium Force roller coaster? And if we look at our student reference book on page 279, we will see that the length of the Millennium Force roller coaster is 6,595 feet. For this question, it is asking us, what is the length of the coaster rounded to the nearest 1,000? So that's what we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at the 1,000 place to see which number it's going to be closest to when we round. So the first step is we're going to find the digit in the thousands place. So if we look at the number 6,595, we need to find the digit in the thousands place, which is the 6. And if you look at step 1 right here, it says underline that digit. So we're going to go ahead and underline the 6 because that's in the thousands place. Now we're going to move on to step 2. And it says look at the digit to the right of the underlined digit. So we're going to look at the digit to the right of the underlined digit. And the digit to the right would be a 5. And we're going to circle that. So the 6 is underlined, and the digit to the right is the 5. So we circled it. So if the circled digit is less than 5, we're going to round down or go lower. If the digit is 5 or greater, we're going to round up or go higher. So let's take a look right here at the 5, and that is 5 or greater, so we're going to round up. So what that means is that 6 needs to become a 7 because we're rounding up. We add 1. The rest of the digits need to become zeros. So we end up with 7,000. So therefore, 6,595, which was our original starting number before we rounded the nearest 1,000, becomes 7,000 when rounded to the nearest 1,000. Because that 5 in that hundreds place, the digit to the right, was 5 or greater, so we had to round up. What I would like you to do now is I'd like you to practice using this method by answering the next 3 problems on your whiteboard. Please be very careful as you read the problems to make sure you're rounding to the place that they're telling you to round to. Not always is it right at the front of the number. Sometimes it's in the middle. You need to pay attention to what place they're asking you to round to. I'd like you to pause this program now, and when you have finished all 3 problems and you're ready to check your rounding work, go ahead and hit the play button, and you will go to the solutions page and you'll see if you got your answers correct. Hopefully by now you have solved the problems. On this page you will see the explanation for each rounding problem using the method described. So first I will explain that we are rounding 34,967 to the nearest 10,000. Using this method, I would underline the 3 because that's in the 10,000s place. I would circle the 4 because that's the digit to the right of the number I'm rounding to. So if we take a look at the explanation, the 4 is less than 5, so we're going to round down. So if we round down, the 3 stays the same and everything else becomes zeros. So 34,967 rounded to the nearest 10,000 would be 30,000. Hopefully you understood that. Let's take a look at the next one where it gets a little bit trickier, because this one it did ask us to round to the nearest 100. But if we look at the problem and the number, we actually have 1,000 out here. But it's actually asking us to round to the nearest 100, which is this 7. So what we do, we underline the 7. We'd circle the 6 because that's the digit to the right, and that 6 is that magic number right there. We need to look, is it 5 or greater or less than 5? So let's take a look at the explanation. The 6 is 5 or greater, so we're going to round up. Now we don't want to mess with the 2 because we're not looking at the 2. We're going to look at the 7. What's 1 more than 7? Well, that's 8. So what's going to happen is the 2 stays the same, the 7 is going to become an 8, and the rest of the digits become 0. So 2,765 rounded to the nearest 100 is 2,800. Last but not least, let's look at the last problem you had to round. And this problem was a little easier. You had to round to the biggest place in the number, which was the thousands place. So once again, I'll walk you through it just to make sure we're all on the same page. So we underline the digit in the thousands place because it's asking me to round to the thousands place. That's the 5. We circle the digit to the right, which is the 7. Once again, magic number of 5. Got to keep that magic number in your head. So let's look at the explanation. The 7, right there, is 5 or greater, so we need to round up. So once again, we look at the 5, and rounding up means we're going to take the 5 and add 1. So 5,732, round to the nearest thousand, is 6,000. Hopefully, this explains the method 3 of rounding, and you were successful. If you missed 1 or 2, please go back and watch the presentation again to see if you can find where your mistakes may be.